Hello everyone, this is Dr. Savita MB and I'm speaking on the module 5 of VTU Engineering Chemistry syllabus, that is instrumental methods of analysis and nanomaterials. In instrumental analysis, we will be discussing on 5 instruments, their instrumentation application. First, let me start with the colorimetry. Okay, so uh, giving an introduction to instrumental analysis. Instrumental analysis is a method of analysis to find out the species, chemical species in a solution. You can do it by volumetry or by using instrumentation. Now, instrumentation methods are classified broadly into electrical methods and optical methods. Electrical methods of analysis involve the measurement of change in current, voltage, or resistance in relation to the concentration of certain species in the solution. Then, optical methods of analysis, these are based on how the sample responds towards the electromagnetic radiation. By these two methods, we can find out the concentration of the solution, given species in a solution, in a sample solution. The advantages of instrumental methods is they are faster than chemical methods, and very less quantity of the sample is sufficient to analyze, and also very less quantity of the species is present, then also we can detect, reducing the wastage of precious samples. Okay. Finds wide applications in industries. It does not require indicators. Turbid, opaque, or colored solutions can also be estimated. But there are certain disadvantages in comparison with the volumetric analysis, where we do the titration. There are some disadvantages also. The disadvantages are we need to purchase or we need to procure the instruments, and the instruments are expensive. An initial and continuous calibration is required using the sample of a known concentration, and the concentration range is also limited. These are some of the disadvantages, but moreover, most of the process uses instruments for the analysis. First, we shall be discussing on colorimetry. Now, colorimetry is a analysis method where you can find out the concentration of a species in a solution, but the solution should be colored. Okay, so it is an analysis method for the samples whose color is dependent on its concentration. So, as the concentration varies, the color also varies. This instruments uses only the visible spectrum on the electromagnetic radiation for the analysis. The substance which impart a stable color in the presence of the other chemicals can also be estimated using colorimetry. Now let us discuss on the instrumentation. The instrumentation means there is a source of light, okay, and it is usually tungsten lamp is used as the source. Next, the source of the light is made to pass through a filter, right? Now filter is set such that it gives the wavelength of the maximum absorption. It is called, it is said as lambda max, means whenever we are analyzing certain species, that species has a chemical metal ions or what, it has a particular wavelength where it absorbs maximum. Therefore, the filter is set to that wavelength. The function of the filter is to allow only that wavelength to pass through it, and the rest is filtered off. And the filtered radiation, the incident rate, then has to pass through the sample. Okay, now the sample is taken in a cuvette. Cuvette is a sample container, and it is placed in the sample holder. Okay, the only requirement is in colorimetry the sample should be itself colored, or you should, whenever you add some other chemicals, it should get converted into a colored solution. Okay, so that is after the filter, the ray passes through the sample holder. Next, the intensity of the light leaving the sample will be less than the light entering the cuvette. That means the transmitted light intensity will be less than the incident, because there will be chemical species in the solution. that is in the sample, which will be absorbing the radiation. The loss of radiation or absorbance of light is proportional to the concentration of the species or the concentration of the sample. Okay. Now this is recorded in a photocell. Okay. Now let us understand what is transmitted and all. Okay. So some of the light, when the ray of light passes through an absorbing medium, a part of the light is reflected, a part is absorbed by the chemical species, the rest is transmitted. Okay. So now if reflectance is avoided, that means if you, the cuvette is made up of a special glass which does not give any reflection, then the intensity of the incident light is equal to the intensity of the light absorbed and the intensity of the light transmitted. Now this colorimetry is based on two laws. One is Beer's law, another one is Lambert's law. Okay. Now let us discuss Beer's law first. Now Beer's law means, see, you take a solution, right, and pass radiation. Let us assume this is a solution sample and you are passing radiation. See, the radiation here are getting transmitted and a part is absorbed. Okay. Now you increase the concentration. See, you can see the difference in the color. There is some intensification of the color. Okay. Now when you pass the radiation, some more radiation is absorbed because the concentration has increased. The number of absorbing ions also has increased. Now again, see, it is a more concentrated solution. Some more radiation are absorbed. That means as the concentration increases, absorbance also increases. That is the Beer's law, which states that the absorbance is proportional to the concentration of the solution. Okay? When the concentration of the solution increases, the absorbance also increases. Next, the definition says that when a monochromatic light means light of single wavelength. That means we are using a filter to generate a light of single wavelength. Okay. So when a monochromatic light passes through an absorbing medium, the intensity of the absorbed light increases exponentially as the concentration of the medium increases arithmetically. That means absorbance is proportional to the concentration. Next is Lambert's law. Lambert's law states that, see, when you pass a radiation through an absorbing medium, a part is absorbed. Now what you do is you increase the thickness. When you increase the thickness or when you increase the volume of the solution means again there will be increase in the ions because you are taking more volume. Okay. The chemical species present also will increase, therefore the absorbance will be more. See, here the thickness is increased, absorbance also is increased. Okay. See, if you still increase the thickness of the medium, again the absorbance increases. Now here you are not changing the concentration, you are just varying the volume, right? That means as the uh, thickness of the medium, that is path length of the light, increases more, that is the absorbance also will be more. Okay. Absorbance is more because the number of ions also increases. And Lambert's law is defined as, when a monochromatic light passes through an absorbing medium, the intensity of the absorbed light increases exponentially as the thickness of the medium increases arithmetically. That means absorbance is proportional to the thickness of the medium. Okay, if you combine the law, Beer's law states that absorbance is proportional to concentration. Lambert's law states that absorbance is proportional to thickness of the medium. Therefore, Beer-Lambert's law states can be stated as absorbance is proportional to concentration and thickness of the medium. Right? Now, A is equal to epsilon C into T, where epsilon is the molar absorptivity of the molar absorptivity constant. Now, you can keep the thickness constant by taking the same cuvette. Okay, when the sample holder diameter is not varied, then thickness also will not vary. Okay, then we can we can nullify the Lambert's law by taking the cuvette of the same size for all the sample that is analyzed at a particular time. Okay, so that means absorbance will be completely dependent on the concentration. Right, now with method. Okay, first we have to find we are now seeing which sample we are analyzing. Okay, uh, when we know what we are analyzing, we need to know the lambda max. Okay, the lambda max is dependent upon the metal ion under study. Okay, now a blank solution is prepared. First, you are taking distilled water or the solvent used to prepare the solution. See, you are preparing the metal ion solution. For which we will be using certain solvent, or you will be using water, or you will be adding some chemical whatever solution to that sample. Except the sample, that means except the metal ion solution, rest whatever you add, that you need to prepare a solution of that. That is called a blank solution. The blank solution is a solution which does not contain the sample. Okay, first a blank solution is kept in the sample holder and the absorbance is set to 0. Okay, it is set to 0, meaning to tell that when there is no sample, there is no absorbance. Okay, now next is the method how you will be finding. First, you are calibrating the instrument to 0 absorbance using a blank solution. First, then what you have to do is you have to make a series of solution of known concentrations. Different solutions of known concentration are taken, and the absorbance of each of the sample is noted down, measured. Okay, now then after you find out the absorbance of known concentration of the same metal ion. Okay, for what you are analyzing from the sample, the same metal ion concentration, a metal ion solution of known concentration, you should prepare different solutions. Okay, series of solution. Then you have to record the absorbance and draw a calibration graph. Okay, in the calibration graph you'll be taking absorbance whatever you are measuring from the instrument along the y-axis, and concentration you will be taking along the x-axis. And as the concentration increases, the concentration first is when the absorbance when the concentration is 0, the absorbance is also 0, you have set it to 0. Then the first concentration, first solution, you will note down the absorbance. Then find out the measure the absorbance of the second solution. See, concentration increases, absorbance also increase. Similarly, you need to find out the absorbance. You have already found out. Now you have to plot the graph. Okay, so you will get a graph of like this. Then you have to draw a straight line, and that straight line has to pass through origin, because at 0 concentration, absorbance is also 0. Therefore, the calibration graph has to pass through the origin. Next, some unknown sample will be given to some sample will be given to you whose concentration is unknown. Right, now, what you do is you take the sample, keep it in the sample holder, record the absorbance. Once you record the absorbance, it is marked along the y-axis, because y-axis you are taking absorbance. Then marked along the y-axis whatever reading you are getting from the graph. Then draw perpendicular to the calibration graph. Where it cuts the graph, draw perpendicular to the uh, y-axis, x-axis. Now x-axis, this will be the concentration. So you have found out the concentration by knowing the absorbance, or by measuring the absorbance. You have found out the concentration. That is what we needed, how much concentration. Right, now what are the applications of colorimetry? Chemical and biomedical estimation of metal ions, um, only colored metal ions. Okay, in clinical labs, then you have soil testing for pesticides, soil nutrients and plant nutrients. In water and food testing laboratories. Okay, all these are the applications of colorimetry. Example, colorimetric estimation of copper. You have this experiment in VTU syllabus laboratory also. The procedure, the video I have, we will be uploading in the description box. The link of the video, again, video is also sent. Now, just visually, I am explaining the procedure. Okay, you need to take 5 different standard flask of 50 ml capacity, and you have to name it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, then of the solution, 5 solutions, you are preparing a solution of known concentration. See, known concentration means there is progressively increase in the amount of or volume of the sample taken, right? See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, see, color also increases, that means the volume is also increasing. Okay, then you, in the first flask, you shall take 5 ml of copper sulfate and 5 ml of ammonia, because to intensify the color of copper ions, cupric ions, you need to add ammonia. Okay, and then first 5 ml of copper sulfate and 5 ml of ammonia, the rest is filled with the distilled water. In the second solution, you will be taking 10 ml of copper sulfate and 5 same specified volume of ammonia you are adding for all the flasks, and then you are making it up to the mark with the distilled water. Similarly, in the third one, you're taking 15 ml copper sulfate, fourth one you're taking 20, and the fifth one you're taking 25 ml. Okay, now it is not compulsory that you should take 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, but you should take solution of known concentration. Okay, the stock solution, maybe you can prepare by taking 1 mg per ml in that concentration. Okay, next you will be closing all the flask and mixing well for uniform concentration. Then what you do is you keep this, I mean, you need also, you should also prepare the blank solution. Okay, blank solution in this case is prepared by taking 5 ml of ammonia and remaining distilled water. You should not add the sample. Here in this case, sample is copper sulfate. So prepare a blank solution without adding copper sulfate. You just add ammonia and distilled water. Okay, then first is you have to keep the blank solution in the sample holder, and then you need to set the reading to 0. Okay, absorbance will be displayed in the colorimeter, it should be set to 0. Next, what you do is you keep the first solution. First solution has some amount of sample, that is copper sulfate 5 ml you have added, right? So copper ions will be there, it is the cupric ions that is absorbing the radiation, so there will be absorbance because cupric ions are present. In the second flask, the absorbance will be more because you have taken 10 ml, higher, I mean more concentration, volume, right? Similarly, in the third one, the concentration again increases, therefore absorbance also increases. So progressively, the absorbance goes on increasing for all the 5 flasks. Okay, then some, I mean, sample will be given to you of unknown copper concentration, right? Now, this unknown solution, unknown concentration, is also kept in the sample holder by making it up to the mark with, and also adding ammonia. You make it up to the mark, and the absorbance is also noted down. Okay, mix well, and then you keep it in the sample holder, and you note down the absorbance. Now it, some absorbance will be shown. Now you have all the absorbance of known solution. See, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, you know, mark the absorbance along the in the graph, and then you have also noted down the absorbance of the unknown sample, unknown concentration. No, I mean, mark along the y-axis, draw perpendicular to the calibration graph. Where it cuts the graph, you, it gives the volume of copper sulfate. You have taken 5, 10, 15, you have plotted, right? Somewhere it comes here, what it corresponds to, which volume you need to find out. That let us take it as ZML. Now this is the amount of copper sulfate present in the sample. Okay, now initially we had taken the stock solution, saying that 1 mg of copper is present per ml. Okay, now we have got ZML from the graph. So ZML into 1 mg, this will give you the the amount of copper present. Okay, now it may not, the this volume may not be equal to the mass, that is mg, if 1 mg of copper is not taken per ml. Sometimes you take 2 mg, you prepare a solution by taking 2 mg, then this will be 2z. Okay, so depending upon the stock solution, this will vary. Okay, this is colorimetry. The next instrument I am discussing is flame photometry. Now, flame photometry is a method in which the sample is aspired to the flame. When the sample is aspired to the flame, the it breaks to atoms, and the electrons in the atoms absorb the flame energy, jumps to the higher from the ground state, it jumps to the excited state. Since it is unstable there, it comes back to the original ground state, and when it comes back, the energy which it had absorbed to go to the excited state, that energy is released in the form of radiation. Now, how much the intensity of the released or emitted radiation depends upon number of atoms that has been excited. Okay, by recording the emitted radiation, we can find out what is the concentration of the metal ions in the sample. Right now, in this flame photometry, the flame photometer instrument is used, and it contains a burner, atomizer, uh, spectroscope, and a filter. Okay, all these detector and amplifier and everything is required. Okay, now what is the principle? The principle behind is, see, the metal ions when introduced into the flame gets converted into the atomic state, right? And the flame energy, the electrons absorbs the flame energy and jumps to the higher energy level. Okay, and when it comes back to the original state, since it is unstable in the excited state, it will surely come back to its original state. When it comes back to the ground state, the amount of radiation it had absorbed, or the energy it had absorbed to go to the excited state, that part will be released in the form of radiation. Okay? By measuring the intensity of the emitted radiation by using a suitable detector, the concentration can be determined. Okay? Application is, flame photometry can be used for the detection of metal salts like sodium, potassium, lithium, calcium, barium, all these. Okay, here even colorless solution also can be analyzed, unlike the colorimetry. Right now, what is the procedure? The procedure is, you will be taking a stock solution. Let us take the example of sodium chloride. We are analyzing sodium. Then we need to take a stock solution. Stock solution, let us assume we have prepared 1 ml of sodium chloride contains y mg of sodium. Okay, so similar like colorimetry, here also you need to prepare a series of solution of known concentration. Okay, in the first one you will be taking 2 ml of sodium chloride and make it up to the mark with distilled water. Second one you will be taking 4 ml. Third one you will be taking 6, 8 and 10 ml of sodium chloride, and each of it you are making it up to the mark with distilled water. Next you will be closing the standard flask, mixing for uniform concentration, and then you will be keeping it in the sample. Okay, the sample is it is aspired to the instrument. Okay, here the lambda max is 589 nanometer, that is for the estimation of sodium. Okay, now in this this is a sample. Now the sample, let us take the fifth sample, um, the maximum concentrated sample will be first aspired and set the absorbance is set to maximum 100. Okay, and then this first solution is aspired, the readings is noted down. Second solution is aspired, readings is noted down. Similarly, third, fourth and fifth, all solutions are aspired, and the uh, absorbance, I mean emitted radiation intensity is measured. Okay, unknown concentration also will be there. The that also has to be aspired, and the emission also has to be noted down. And similar like colorimetry, here also you will be plotting a graph taking flame intensity along the y-axis, and sodium hydroxide solution taken in along the x-axis. Here, as the volume of sodium hydroxide increases, the intensity of the emitted radiation also increases, and you need to plot the graph and draw a straight line passing through the origin, and you will be you already have got the intensity of the emitted intensity of the solution of unknown sodium chloride concentration, right? You will be marking that along the y-axis. Where it cuts the graph, calibration graph, you have to draw perpendicular to the x-axis, where you will get the volume of the sodium chloride present in the sample solution. Okay, so that is taken as, let us assume it is taken as ZML. Here also, initially we had taken 1 ml of sodium chloride contains y mg of sample, y mg of sodium. Here we have got ZML. So ZML contains how much? ZML contains ZML into y mg, which is given in ZMG. Okay, and the third one is atomic absorption spectroscopy. It is a more sophisticated instrument where you can find out the presence of metal ions in a very minute trace quantity also, and most of the metals are analyzed by atomic absorption spectroscopy. Okay, uh, here this instrument is based on the breakdown of a sample into atoms, followed by the measurement of atoms absorption of light. Okay, in flame photometry, here also, there also, you'll be taking a solution which you will be putting to the flame, and in the flame the solution evaporates, leaving behind the salt. For example, we had taken sodium chloride. Sodium chloride salt will be there, and due to the flame energy, it breaks to sodium atom and chloride. Okay, now sodium atom, in that the electron absorbs radiation from the flame, energy from the flame, and excites from ground state to excited state. Okay, here in atomic absorption spectroscopy, it is not the absorbance of emission is not analyzed. Okay, certain metals on introduction to the flame, a much larger number of gaseous metal atoms will normally remain in the ground state. Okay, some of the metal atoms get excited to the excited state. Those metal atoms can be analyzed by flame photometry. Okay, but most of the atoms will normally remain in the ground state. Okay, these ground state atoms are capable of absorbing radiant energy of their own specific resonance wavelength. Okay, if the light of the resonance wavelength, if this light of if this wavelength is passed through the flame containing the atoms of the sample, then part of the light will be absorbed. Okay, the extent of absorption will be proportional to the number of ground state atoms present in the flame. Okay, instrumentation is here also. The first, the solution is taken and it is fed to the instrument, wherein there is also flame which will be just atomizing the metal atoms, and then the source of the light is a lamp whose cathode is made up of an element being measured. Each analyzed element requires a different lamp. For example, if you want to analyze gold, then you need to take the source which is made, whose cathode is made up of gold. Okay, therefore if you want to analyze any element, any metal, a suitable cathode is taken, should be taken. Okay, a cathode ray lamp should be taken. Therefore, for each element, different lamp is required. Okay, so now there is a anode, there is a cathode. What happens is, see here, the sample is aspired to the first it is mixed with air. The air is mixed with the sample. It is made into a mist like a vapor like mist. Then it is fed into the flame. In the flame, whatever solution contains some solvent, right, everything is evaporated, only the salt remains, and the salt also breaks up to the constituent atoms, and the metal atom, whatever is taken, the same lamp is to be taken, the cathode ray lamp should be taken. Now here, when high potential is given here, and the energy wavelength which comes through from this will be absorbed by the ground state metal atoms here. Okay, now how much is absorbed is detected by the detector. Okay, the sample is prepared, see here, and it is subjected to the flame by a nebulizer. The sample is atomized, that means it is broken into atoms. The metal atom then absorbs the light from the source, that is cathode lamp. The remaining light rays moves through the monochromator detector and read out. Okay, so if more metal atoms are present, more absorption will be more. Here a detector will detect very less the atoms, since more atoms are there, the less amount of light will be passing through the monochromator. Okay, so instrumentation is, it has monochromator, detector and readout the machine. Then when the light passes through the monochromator, the you have to select a particular wavelength of light for observation. Then the intensity of the light which is falling on the detector is very less, okay, very low. So a photomultiplier tube is required to boost the signal intensity for the purpose of detection. The readout displays the reading for each of the sample measured, right? So the advantage is atomic absorption spectroscopy is very high sensitive to the ions, metal atoms, high selectivity, and it gives very good accuracy. And the disadvantage is resonance light source, that is the source of light is required for each element, different sources required. Okay, so this is uh, regarding atomic absorption spectroscopy. These are all optical instruments. Next, two more electrical based instruments I shall be discussing in my next video. Thank you.